Hello, this is Patrick from XPression, and I'd like to show you how to work with shape styles in XPression Maps. I'm here in XPression Maps, and I'm going to go into my search editor, and I'm going to do a quick search for the state of New York. And when I do that search, what you'll notice is I will get a list, and it shows me New York City, New York State, New York County. I'm going to select New York State. I'm going to double click on it, and when I do, it's showing me New York, because I clicked on the wrong thing. But I'm going to zoom this back a little bit so you can kind of get a feel for it. New York is kind of an odd shape here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come down below the search results. You'll see there's something called search related shapes. And I'm going to choose New York by double clicking on it. And then you'll see that now has what we call a shape style. And a shape style is the fill, a border, some text capabilities, and also possibly some sub-grouping lines in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the shape editor, and you can see here in my shape editor I've got New York is a state selected, and you can see below that I've got the style editor, and I've got state default selected. And if I click on the browse to open button, which you'll see, this will now show me the shape style manager. And if I want to see what state default looks like, if I click edit, I now can see the properties of that. So this is that shape style of state default. It is defined for states because I can have it be the default for whatever is selected, country, state, or region, or none. I've got the ability to choose borders and the border width and a border color. I can do fill and a color, and I can choose name and a color. The names and name styles come out of my drawing tools, not so much the OpenStreetMap editor, but that's where that's at. And I can, if I've got something on the ocean using Bing Maps, for example, I would be able to see the ocean mask applied. That's not really going to matter here. This is a zoom in and zoom out. In other words, this will appear between these two number ranges, so I can have that so that as the map zooms in, that these things will appear and then disappear. Coming in, how do we do it? It's got an effect. It can be a dissolve or just a straight cut. And blend mode is how it's multiplied on the screen. So that's regular mode. Here is a multiply mode, so you can kind of see it multiplies itself against the background. So if I had a background that had some relief texture in it, I would see the relief texture showing through. I can have it be additive, so it's going to look, the background here is kind of a grayish, so with that yellow it kind of makes that a mustardy hue. I can do hue from maps, saturation from map, value from map, which is the RGB colors, and saturation and value. I'm going to return this back to regular, and I'm also going to come down to the next box, and what this is, this lets me add borders for children shapes, child shapes, which would be, in this case of a state, this would be a county. If I did this for a country, then I would see the children being states. It's the next level down. I can also add names of whatever they are in the labels. You'll see it's the same label structure that applies here as the name style. So for example, if I change this to B Street, you'll see that that's the same style that gets applied as the state label and as the child or county label in this case. I'm going to bring it back to Gotham. Now the question is, how do I create these? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cancel this. I'm going to add a new shape style, and I'm going to call this State Republican, and I'm going to copy the values from state highlight. I'm going to click OK. Now, I can make all these changes, but I won't see them, so I'm just going to do this. I'm going to click OK and click Done. I'm going to come back down to my style editor, and I'm going to choose State Republican for my active state, and then I'm going to go back into the tool, and I'm going to browse to it, and I'm going to click Edit. And now what I want to do, a Republican in the US is a red color. So what I've got here is kind of red. Maybe I want this to be a different red. This is actually pretty bright. So what that tells me is it's probably the way this is appearing on the map. Maybe I want to change this to multiply rather than regular and see what that color looks like. That's probably more a little bit what I'm looking for. And again, I can show the counties here if I want to show them. And I've got them with a white border. And I'm not going to bother putting the names on it. But this is how I make this appear. And I can make this be the default for state, and if I do that, what you'll notice also once I get this set it up, It's telling me there's already one that's there. I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to click OK. So now what you should see, this is the indicator to tell me what that's a default for, and it's the default for state. You'll also notice that there's a little database icon and a floppy disk, for those who remember what that is. If I just click on it, that will save it. It will prompt me. It's saying that's saving that shape. And now I could build, for example, a Republican version, a Democratic version, so I can have all these different ones. I can apply them to countries, so I can have selected country, selected state, default state, whatever I choose to do with them. I'm going to come back up here to state defaults. If I click in that box, it doesn't do anything, but if I go back to the edit tool and I make this be the default for state, and it's going to ask me, hey, have you already got a default for state? Do I want to do this? Yes, I do. We've already talked about all the other pieces in here, including the dissolves and transitions. Again, it can be either cut or a dissolve, and this is the rate that will appear on the screen. The database automation we'll talk about in different videos, but when I click OK, what you'll notice is I've modified a couple things here. I could also click Save All, and that saves all the changes that I've made. And now if I click Done, I now have a new map style.